and
No.
we sell a kind. But yeah, so why should agents should be dual licensed? And I think this is a big question because I think most real estate agents they don't know how to expand upon a market that's kind of limited inventory wise. So what happens is um, we've gotten into a time in the real estate market where we're down to numbers that are like into 19. We just, matter of fact, we have the people we share this office with tell us about how slow sales have been.
Yeah.
Not slow in the bad way. See, some people when they say real estate's slow, prices are still ridiculously high. Volumes aren't, and that's to be honest with you, it doesn't really matter if a real estate market's good or bad on the agent side. No, homeowners probably hate it because it's like, they're like, oh well, it's a bad market, and they're still. But to be honest with you, our business is obviously transactional. So because there's more or less of those transactions, what happens is you get less transactions being an agent in the real estate business.
Mhm.
I've lived through a couple of horrible times in real estate. I started in the Great Recession, and that's. Do you remember the Great Recession? You were what, five?
I think it was 2008 it happened, right?
2007, yeah.
Oh, so I was 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember anything.
No, it was if you were in the real estate business at that time, it was difficult. And I think probably since then, even though a lot more real estates have hung on, but there's so many things changed with law, changed with the new realtor lawsuit, right? We've
Yeah.
talked about several times, and what really is going to transpire for real estate people, and if you're in the business, what it's going to mean for you, and how like you should be adapting, and what we've done specifically to
Mhm.
adapt, and it's worked extremely well, and it works well for the client, but we're very specific about what that is. And we'll get
Mhm.
into details of like what we're doing and why you should be licensed in multiple states because of the fact that we're in a very strategically located section of New York. So if you're not from here, basically where we are, we're in Staten Island, and Staten Island kind of puts us between. We're like we're the stepchild of New York City. Some people consider us New Jersey. New Jersey doesn't want us,
Mhm.
so it's like Staten Island
Yeah.
is its own place.
Yeah.
You lived here all your life,
I have.
and you've now you ventured into Jersey quite a bit now, right? I mean, you've been out to Jersey. You've probably seen a lot more of Jersey in the last 2 years than you have in your life.
No, yeah, definitely, yes. I mean, I hate like driving in Jersey.
Really?
Yeah, I think
I
it's
love
so.
driving in Jersey. I don't know what it is.
I hate the roundabouts. They always confuse me.
Yeah, that's one of the things that people like most likely complain about here is the roundabouts and the U-turns. So you can't.
Oh yeah.
So in order to make a left turn, you have to make a right turn to go around a roundabout in New Jersey.
Yeah.
But it's far safer than here.
Oh
Here,
yeah,
it's
it's for
madness when you
sure.
when you travel around Staten Island. It's absolutely
Yeah,
madness. And there was a comment, but I definitely can't see it.
I
So
cannot see that either.
we'll definitely look at some point. But uh,
Yeah, I can't read
we'll
that.
we'll
Sorry.
we'll I don't know if we can capture those comments later, but we'll. That's because I don't have my glasses on, even though they're not long range. But the big thing is, what do you do? You're an agent, and you're looking at the business. How does this affect you? How does it affect you also as a consumer? Because I think the two of them are not much different in terms of what the benefits are to dual agents, dual state licensed
Hmm.
agents, and non-dual state. We have some people with Florida too. It's a
Yeah.
little bit more technically difficult for Florida because of just the ability, unless you're going to hop on a plane to show a house. I don't think it's as pragmatic, but it definitely helps. But we're going to specifically talk about New York and New Jersey.
Yes.
So you have a couple of things that you want to.
Yeah, I do. So, I mean, why should you get a license in? Well, get a dual license is because um I mean, New York and New Jersey are both like very like popular
Right.
cities, I feel like. So it's just like you get like more
Yeah, we get more.
opportunities
Right.
by being
Yeah.
licensed in both areas.
Yeah. So the big thing is like being. That's really what it is. Is that it does open up opportunities, but it also depends on what you're doing. And we're going to get into this a little bit. What we do infrastructurally as a company, that's much different because of the way the digital media works now and digital infrastructures work. And we've been really hitting it hard
Oh yeah.
in the digital arena,
Yes, we have. Like our YouTube.
like our YouTube. YouTube has absolutely exploded, and if you haven't gone to our YouTube channel, guys, what I really tell you is, um, you know, we've really adapted to a different model of doing things as far as being more attractive to our potential sellers, how we're increasing our visibility in places for their benefit. And that's the one thing about agents when you dual license, right? What you want to see is, at least from a company perspective, and I think this is where things are changing company perspective wise, is that you have to lay out a plan for doing business. I think as organizationally, what I do see, and I've always said this from the time I started this business, I've been very organizationally set up to do business that's more seamless. So, and one of the biggest problems I see with agents and what they do in real estate is they don't lay out the tracks before they run the trains. And one of the things that I like to do is, look, if we're going to go to a place, we have to have, something specifically marketable to our potential clients moving forward, with moving forward any business. And I think one of the problems is that, uh, and I've said this before, we've done some lives about this particular thing about overhiring agents
Yes.
and making it. And what I found is that if you were to calculate cost of setting up infrastructure, one of the things I've always said, it's extremely cost prohibitive. Our like we've produced over 2,000, I think it's up to 2,600 videos.
Oh yeah. I mean, put out videos every day.
So our YouTube channel is now up to we're about 20,000 people a month. I think
Yeah.
of 20 plus thousand people a month on YouTube,
We're
which is, I mean, we're really taking off, and we're approaching the 2,000 subscriber mark. I think we're nudging a little further along the way.
Yes.
And thank you to our subscribers. I'm glad you're finding our content, especially this year. This year we've really just,
Oh, it's skyrocketed.
yeah, it's skyrocketed. Pinterest has really helped out quite a bit as well.
Yes.
Which is like, there's a synergistic strategy there. And guys, if you're not using Pinterest, you should. But the big thing is how to set yourself up, and that's why, like, if you're going into the brokerage, not the brokerage business, you're going into the real estate business for the first time, make sure you clearly understand what it means as the organization is setting you up for success and how that's going to look to your potential sellers. And one of the problems I find is you cannot hire, and I keep caps and limits on how many people, because I don't like an office that's overwhelmingly, like, they're looking for, it's like you get when the market's like this, you get a lot of people jumping around, you get a lot of people like, changing companies. But what it is the understanding of like how this is all supposed to mesh into a decision that helps build your business, and most of that is going to happen. There was a great YouTube video I saw, a girl, and unfortunately it's left to the agents to do this on their own, and I found that to be a problem overall. That the expertise, the time that it takes to put all these things together, you could be a full-time producer in real estate, do your production, and do like all this like legwork into putting together a video, and it cuts into your time in managing so much of the other business. And you're trying to do these two things at once, and you're trying to, and I see it. I've seen people that get very stressed out about it. And what happens is opportunities get lost because unfortunately it's one of the more cost prohibitive between equipment, between 6 iPads that we have going right now and the 5 iPhones, which are all obviously part of the setup. We're going to get this all into one condensed thing at one part. But one of the things is look for the structure of the organization to say, okay, let's check out like what this company is doing, because everything today is digital. Let's call it for what it is. If you're not in the digital sphere and you're not getting into the digital sphere, you want to make sure if you're going to be dual licensed or you're going to enhance your business, you have to look at the structure and say, are they laying out a network for me to operate off of? So when I go into that person's house, is a very clear, definable service quotient that I can provide than my competitor. And this is one of the things that, unfortunately, the business, what happens, there's a lot more sales speak than there is like looking into infrastructure to move your listings or to separate yourself. And a lot of people like, and I get it, agents want to keep their own like social media, which is fine. But the biggest problem is that to manage that, you got to remember from the standpoint, let's just talk about managing the infrastructure that's required to be in all these platforms. You need to be edit, you need to shoot. I'm licensed to pilot. So we get a lot of things. So, and I think that's really enhanced what we've been able to do. And what it is, it's set up, not for me personally, but it's set up for the agents in a way that we are developing funnels, systems of funnels through all these media channels into a single source. So what happens is you turn around and the agent that walks in, maybe they don't have vast quantities of, I'm not going to say they don't have knowledge, they just don't have the ability to reach an audience that's going to help service their client better, especially in a day and age where maybe buyer agency isn't the thing you want to focus on, right? Yeah. So when you look at this is, well, you have questions. So I'll let you ask the questions. I want to ask you the questions. She hates being put on the spot.
I do.
I'll be the one to be put on the spot. But how's everybody out in TikTok land? We're in TikTok land too, you know. Yes. So that's that corner up there. TikTok, Facebook, and say wave hi, guys. Anyway. So yeah, you have a question. You have a few.
What marketing tools and strategies do we provide for real estate agents here?
Like one of the biggest things that we do, if you go to a like YouTube channel especially, there's different types of like structure layers to how you want to set up your infrastructure. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to sit here and give every trade secret we offer, but and that's like one of the things but what I'm going to say is there are forms of videos, depending on what type of video you're doing. It's what we call longevity, right? So what you try to promote is, can you develop more content that has what I call legs or longevity, meaning they stay relevant for longer periods of time. One of the biggest things between like the shorter form videos, mm-hmm. Short form video, very great. It's been a great thing, but the problem is with short form video, like, you know, if you want to say the difference between Instagram, maybe we'll get thrown off of one of these platforms, but is that it's not quite as searchable. So you're kind of like limited to like the searchable functions, yeah. Where like TikTok and maybe YouTube is just far more like, if I'm seeking information, I'm seeking that. The longevity is really the key to saying, hey, can I stay relevant for a longer period of time? And how do I set up the infrastructure to do so? What we try to do for agents is we set up what we call the network effect, which is the longevity of the programming that we do stretches out more geographically, yes. Focused. And what we're able to do is offer that geographically focused type of content and relevancy scores within those with those parameters, we're able to develop a funnel system, which allows us to acquire buyers from across the country, the world, because they're seeking the types of information that is necessary to be successful.
Yes.
And that's, but we have it set up. It's not for me as an individual. It's set up for the company. So what I like to do is, like, instead of having, and this is the biggest thing why agents are successful and not, because some people aren't great at the camera and they're not great at these other things, but they want to be able to provide a service. And look, I mean, one of the things is you pay fees, right? We pay fees into the real estate company, whether through monthly fees or whatever those fees may be. But what it is like, okay, so what is the infrastructure set up for me? Am I going to have to develop my own? And to be quite honest with you, to produce about the 2,000 some odd videos that we've produced over the course of 10 years is thousands of man hours.
Oh yeah, I feel like it has to be more than 2,000 videos to be honest.
No, it's, last time I checked, it was 2,600.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Just in that sphere.
Yeah, like that's crazy.
So when you talk about man hours to put that together, but what it's done over the time, and actually this year is our biggest growth year of all of them. So we've definitely increased. Yeah, and it's really, the last 2 months have been off the chain. But the big thing is that what you want to do is, when you're seeking like your move, like if you're going into these companies, you need to really do the deep dive, and they'll be talking to you. And one of the things is, you know, there's national companies, there's franchise. We operate, and we're not the hugest company in the world, but we operate one of the largest regional channels in New York and New Jersey. So what it is that we're able to connect with more sellers. So when an agent at least comes into the office, and it comes across our distribution network, where it's not just relied upon the agent to be part of it, to create their own distribution network. We're able to create a distribution network for them that allows them to enhance their ability to market their property. And primarily, that's really, that's probably one of the things that you wanted to talk about.
Yes, that we reach a more broader audience.
Yes.
So,
but like when you use YouTube, and I'll make this nice. When you use YouTube, you're doing it for, like, what do you like? I think we've done this before, but like the platform you're looking for information from, what like if you want the know-how, or you want to know about a place before you go, or you want, what do you do?
I look it up.
And which platforms are most likely to be your most helpful?
YouTube and TikTok. I feel like I definitely.
What was the last place you looked up that you?
The last place that I looked up was in the city.
Right.
Yeah.
So you actually went to TikTok, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Because you're a big.
I like
the younger generation. Your TikTok is definitely helping the younger generation really enhance what they do, and so TikTok is one. I mean, obviously we are focusing a little bit more on TikTok. I personally love TikTok. I have my own thing on TikTok. But the big thing is that what happens is you're able to search up what you're looking for in advance of. So understanding what that is. And some agents are really good at doing it. There's some great agents out there. I mean, I spent some time on, obviously, across a multitude of platforms, but if you could create a global audience, and the company's actually providing some degree of how to, so what it is instead of an agent walking in, and maybe they don't have an infrastructure set up for that. And my biggest thing is, because of the fact that agents don't have the infrastructure to do that, the company actually has it set up for them. So they can actually go seamlessly into that appointment and say, maybe there's two people in the same office. And this is what I find, guys, this is what happens when you have a multitude of offices and you have great producers in the office. Some of them have great YouTube channels, but they're competing for the same business. Not to say that they can't compete in any.
The same house that
they're seeking to list or whatever. And the problem is that if you don't have that infrastructure set up and somebody does, you're on the back burner. They're going to look at the fact that this is the infrastructure that is going to be required, and that's what the homeowner is going to want. but we don't have it set up that way. We do everything internally for the agent. So no matter what consistency, so my thing is about creating consistency where they could focus on what they focus on, and where the agent they could focus and we could focus on providing a level of service quotient. Because one of the things is that no matter who lists it here, it always looks the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody's stuff is we're on a so no there is no discrepancy between one agent and the other agent's ability here. So you're not going to see, and this is one of the things that when you're going in and you're saying, oh, well, what's the broker going to do? And what's this? This is one of the key factors that probably never really talked about is it's not just having marketing. Marketing is too broadly used in terms of like what it means for you. It's how this synergy between brokerage and agent could create more seamless approach to providing a better service overall for the consumer. Because the problem is that you'll have somebody who is very well capitalized in the business, and you have people who are maybe a few years less, or they're not as well capitalized. Because this is not cheap. It's not cheap to do this. And what happens is two agents will go in, one's capitalized, one can't do this, and the other one can. But the biggest thing is because they carry the name of obviously Prodigy Real Estate. My thing is that from the consumer perspective, it needs to look all the same. At least from the standpoint, that's not to say that individual agents can't do more upon that. It's just saying what you want to have a consistency across the board. So it's not like, oh, I saw somebody else in your office who did this and you didn't do that because, well, that person has, $1,500 of disposable money to go do that, and this one doesn't. And meanwhile, our data proves that we've done statistics, right? And it shows that we've outperformed the market based on the fact that more attention is being brought to a house than not. And this is factors that you guys need to understand in your business model. Like when you because look, there's a lot of agents out there that get recruiting calls and we do all these things. If you can't see it, it doesn't exist. So please, the one thing I could tell you is if you can't see it, don't be sold it. You have to go do a little bit of homework and say to yourself, hey, I see what this is done. I see this here, and look at the difference. And for the homeowners, it's the same thing. Too many times, a lot of things left up to kind of like theories and like, well, this, I'm used to seeing it this way. And it's like, no, I'm telling you, the data supports what we're talking about because that's why we do it. And to be honest with you, the last 3 years have been absolutely astounding just on the fact that, we're able to go into New Jersey and actually provide a significant benefit. We just sold another one, right? Do you remember?
Yes, we did.
Drexel,
we just sold it. I did a video.
Yeah.
Last week.
So Drexel is that was the highest price sale, and still there's houses on the market currently that still did not get as high a price as that. So regardless of where the market's going, the attention drawn to that particular house exceeded about 12,000 people within the first week. That in turn wound up. Now remember, it's a funnel. If you cannot drive exposure, and there's Zillow and Trulia, and we got to understand that these things are there. They're tools, but it is. And I've done this analogy, right? You go down the shopping aisle, you buy cereal at in a store. There's a cereal aisle, but the problem is that the cereal, when they're going down the aisle, they're not really looking. They're not looking for the house, I kind of say, or they're not looking for the box of cereal. They're looking for the price first. They're not looking for the advantages first. And we're kind of getting out of what I call the eBay business of real estate. And we're actually going to have to be more demonstrative or demonstrate what the house's advantages are because of the attention span people have. Do you know how many houses you have about, just so you know, the data is in on this. So a person doing a typical real estate search, you have about 3.2 seconds and or less to attract the buyer to the house. Because what happens is they're searching for a criteria, right? You see a big box of stuff, and it's the price ranges. Yes, there may be some advantages to being posted. They're obviously introducing new things to be posted ahead of other people, but these are banners. And what happens is a house, we've seen it, we've done some studies on this. If you kind of understand where the mindset of the person that's buying, how do you really keep them engaged with a house? It's very good. It's excellent in terms of like the aesthetics. One of the greatest houses, and that's another, May Boulevard.
Oh yes, that was a nice one.
It was nice, right? But the outside, it didn't capture you from the outside.
No.
If it didn't, and the funny thing is that house was on the market for a period of about 3 months prior, and it just sat there. And then the ability to try to transform the market into like, and our ability to reach the market as well. It's not just, okay, I produce a video, put it online, and that's the big hope here. There's a lot of things, but what happens is the selling point of the house actually existed behind the front door, not looking at the front door. This is another example we did on a house that had a dock in the rear of the property, but you were left to the front picture of the house, and it was completely missed for almost a year and a half. It's out of the market. We changed the marketing approach to the house, and all of a sudden, I think someone wrote something about staging. I'll get into that in a second. I can't be specific. I see the staging on there, but we'll definitely answer that question. But because I want to talk about that, there's a component to that, but I think it's more nuanced than what's being put out there. But what I'm going to say is that you have to be able to, like a good car commercial or a good anything else, you have to understand what the qualities of the house and bring them forward, not make the person come in and search for it. And because like TikTok does a thing on video, how long, like the videos that get watched longer are the ones that perform better. And one of the things that you want to do is keep a high engagement rate. And how do you do that? And this is more than flash in the pan. There are things that look cool, but that aren't effective. And we take all these things into consideration. Like I said, again, I'm not going to give everything about what we do out there, but what happens is we create a longer engagement rate. There's several ways to do that. But the biggest thing is the homeowner benefits, because all of a sudden you take the one piece of the puzzle that's been the problem, which is I'm not selling this house from the front. We had a house on the hill. It looked like a ranch. You did the video tour on Overlook.
Oh, yes.
Right? You stood in the front of the house, you would not think. And if you will go to a site that the front-facing photo is the reason to purchase this house, you would probably say, what is that price?
Yeah.
Because it looked like a ranch.
Yeah.
Then you turn around to the back when we did the fly around, and we reverted the marketing, because the back, it's 4 stories, the building, but it happened to sit hillside. The person that bought it was from Boston. So so what happens is, besides the reach and being able to reach markets that people would never even think of, they were relocating, they were obviously purchasing somewhere else. And I didn't forget the staging question, because I think that's, I'm going to want to see something. Oh God. Okay. No, it wasn't the question that I thought. So anyway, but the big thing is, what you want to do is understand the nature of like what the potential client's going to want to see in the house that they want to purchase, and it's got to extend beyond just great photos. One time there was a problem with photos, and there's still a problem, to be honest with you. But we have a lot of people out there. A lot of people out there who don't really get the context of what good marketing should look like, at least in real estate. I've seen it. It shouldn't be dismissed, but the next round is coming. But you have questions. I don't want to keep talking.
I
Well, you could
have-
ask qualifications. What do you need to do? I'm throwing you right out. You just
you are.
you could just get into okay. So whatever you want to ask me next, I'm leaving it up to you. Ask you
Okay.
the most horrible question you could ask, or the best one you could ask, and I'll still answer it.
How about how has Prodigy Real Estate's business increased in New Jersey over the past 3 years?
It's a tenfold increase. I mean, you go 100% from the first year, but it is a market. We could sell houses because of our infrastructure 100 miles away from where we're located. And that shows you the power behind creating an infrastructure that will transcend many borders. And I think one of the things that you want to do is transcend just the ability for a person to do a search on a house, but make the house become part of their search coming to them. So it's like a reverse kind of prospect. You reverse prospect when you use these methods. Look, these are detailed methods, and I'm not selling a seminar, so this is an internal thing because the agents here use it very. We have agents who do spectacular jobs. As a matter of fact, one of our agents is the rookie of the year, and she hasn't been in the business all that long.
No.
But the biggest thing is the service quotient levels, and we have some new people that are coming out who are really. We're going to be listing a house in
on the Jersey Shore, right?
Yeah,
Shore?
over in Manasquam, and you can check. The best thing is, guys, go check. We do a lot of. Kerry thinks I'm a little nuts because on the weekends,
I do. He doesn't stop working.
I don't. It's an addiction. But the big thing is that, but it's working now. You see, this is what I mean.
Yeah.
I laid the tracks. Some people say, "Oh, wasn't it a waste of time to do what you're doing?" It's like it's not, because people kind of look for the short game, and then all of a sudden, all the stuff that you've been doing all this time starts reaping its benefits. And I do think that at the end of the day, what you want to be looking for as far as a real estate office or company is not listen. You're going to get a lot of sales speak. We're not a franchise company. I'm not gonna envision to say it's good or bad. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is how the infrastructure set up is going to be the defining difference of whether that person is going to be successful or not. Look, there's also personal. I mean, what you want to do is that there's a lot of people that come into the business. They have a lot of energy and they're full of energy and life to do this, but getting that off the ground, I've found, is to be the most difficult part. And if you don't set up properly infrastructurally, even existing agents, your organization, we're providing a service. And yes, service can rely on referrals, and it's a big part of it. But you have to be able, in order to be in business, and everybody's going to tell you in business, that doesn't reach far enough to say that you can accomplish that simply. It's not a simple process to make consistency out of a referral business and making that your business primarily. I've said this before. One of the biggest things about my business is the referral business came from a lot of the new business that we're still able to acquire on a yearly basis, on a monthly basis, and that has to be intrinsic to your model. And in the digital era, like we're in now, there's nobody here, especially you, that doesn't sit Saturday night and go through 1,000 TikToks.
Yeah,
and
does it.
And the media and the attention span to do so is not exactly. It's not big. You don't get a whole lot to make an appeal, and but we, as time moves on, we've actually improved that way we do things. And we can, obviously, everything's a kind of, from some perspectives, it's not like we have 60 people working in this office all on media, so we have to be very pinpointed and then work on things one at a time. But one of the biggest things is that YouTube this year has really accelerated
Mhm.
and continues to accelerate. And uh, it's helped the agents, and that's really the growth of the New Jersey business. Is Facebook is still playing a pivotal role in that as well. We run and maintain groups, right?
Yes, we have 3 of them that we
Right.
have on Facebook.
We have 2 separate Facebook pages, and we have one marketplace. Marketplace is now approaching 17,000. New York to New Jersey and Florida, 17,000 people in there. But we've set this up over time so agents will have a resource that makes them unique to their selling propositions.
Mhm.
And that's the only thing I could tell you. It's not enough to say you need to create a great selling proposition without the visualization. I'm going to make that clear. You need to create a selling proposition that requires visualization. Okay? If you can't see it, it does not exist, guys. You can't just rely on you figure in a day like this and in this day and age. I mean, I guess with short attention spans, you could think that, but you really lose the ability to keep people's attention on systems. And people are like, oh, well, the big Zillow monster's out. There's a lot of things that you could be doing or looking through as far as where you're going to go next or what you're going to do to help bring an audience to what you're doing, because that is marketing 101. You have to bring an audience. No audience, no business. And if you're relying too much, and that's the one thing we don't rely on, which I'm very happy that I do not rely much in the way of third parties providing our infrastructure.
Mhm.
You cannot, it's not something that you want to depend on. For the agent, as an agency, that's not to say as an agent you can, but I'm going to tell you, it's cost prohibitive. One of the biggest problems I have when